was going to talk about Oppenheimer. Let's play this clip.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Man. That was the real J. Robert Oppenheimer. I gotta try to say Oppenheimer because that's how you pronounce it. That O just looks so large in his name. It makes me want to say Oppenheimer, but it's Oppenheimer. Played by Cillian Murphy. Or Killian Murphy. I don't know. Directed by Christopher Nolan. And written by Christopher Nolan. And it was a good movie. I saw it in IMAX. I saw it 2 weeks ago in IMAX. And I'm just now talking about it. I still haven't seen Barbie. I haven't Barbenheimered yet. And I've seen lots of things in between Oppenheimer and Barbie. Maybe I'll rewatch them for my second time. Watch them one after the other. But Oppenheimer was a good movie. It was really good. It was probably Christopher Nolan's best movie in a few years. I didn't watch Dunkirk. Some people like it. I've seen clips of it in preparation for my World War II class. And honestly, after I had a World War II class in college, they showed us some stuff. I'm like, God dang, I don't know if I needed to see that on a Tuesday. Or whatever day I took that class. I think it was a Tuesday. So I'm kind of done with World War II-ish movies, and I know this is basically a World War II movie, but it's following a bunch of scientists, which is cool and interesting. It's based off, obviously, a true story about the making of the atom bomb, which is crazy. Obviously, it was more than crazy. It killed over 200,000 people. Man. But I feel weird because this is like a big thing to, like, how can you just casually talk about a movie about the creation of a massive bomb that killed a bunch of people? And why was this movie paired up with Barbie? And now, so I think in Japan, some people are taking offense, probably rightfully so, about the movie and it being coupled with Barbie for Barbenheimer. But honestly, and also they probably just don't want a movie made about this at all, ever. So there's that. Or not about the guy who did it, maybe. I don't know how they feel about it. I'm not going to put myself over there. But obviously Oppenheimer made more money because of the Barbenheimer thing. Like, it was a thing. And Barbie obviously is prospering the most, but Barbie is also a little bit more accessible. The fact that people went to a 3-hour movie, which, yes, does have great, like, if you see it in a theater, it's going to have the booms. You're going to hear a bunch of loud booms. And it's going to be fun. It's going to give you a headache. It's going to give you a headache. If you go in that movie without a headache, I guarantee it, you will walk out with a headache, but also, you also walk out with that feeling of, like, existential dread and thoughts and about, like, man, I can't believe we are on the brink of nuclear Armageddon every day, always. Everybody has nukes. If one person pressed one button, other people are going to press other buttons, and once all the bombs are blowing up, all there will be is a flash of light, and then disintegration, and then gone. And it only takes one of those to kill at least 200,000 people. It takes probably much less to, or not much more to just kill everybody. And it takes one person to start, and once one person starts throwing nukes, the next person's going to throw a nuke, and then another person, and then the world blows up, and we're all dead. And that's what this movie likes to play around with. Also, I love how. All right, I'm gonna try to talk about it the way I can. So there are two ways of looking at this movie. Oppenheimer, he's kind of like he's got like a big picture kind of idea about what this is and what this all means for the scientific field he's in, and what it can mean for the world. And yet, while yes, he knows it's a bomb, I don't think in the movie, at least, it's clear that he doesn't. The thought about the fact that they're definitely going to drop it on people and people are going to die, even though he kind of knows that, the weight of it doesn't hit him until closer to before they're going to drop the bomb. And then once they do, it's not even once they drop the bomb. Once the military, or once Oppenheimer and his team, once they've successfully tested the bomb and it works, as like right after that, and the military takes the bombs or the materials away, they're like, okay, we're good, we don't need you anymore. And at that point, I think his anxiety kind of ramps up. He's like, they're going to drop this on a city, and not only that, they might not just drop one, they'll drop two. And not only that, they might, they might do more. It's out of his control. And not only is it out of his control, he's basically created a new technology. And that new technology is going to be exploited forever. Exploited and poked at forever. And he starts, that idea starts to really weigh on him after the bombs are dropped on Hiroshima and God dang it. Where's my god dang history knowledge when you need it? Nagasaki. Yes, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki. Man. And it's just interesting. Now, so yeah, he's big picture idea. Then you got Robert Downey Jr. He plays Strauss. I think he wants it pronounced Strauss because he's trying to hide the fact that he's Jewish, but really it's Strauss, I think. Louis Strauss, he had only witnessed a conversation between Oppenheimer and Einstein, and he just sees them talking, and then Strauss walks up to Einstein because he wants to be like, oh, hey, Einstein, how's it going? Or, no, whatever. Einstein kind of gives him like a dark, solemn look. And because of that, Strauss has like a big ol' grudge against Oppenheimer because he's like, what did you say to Einstein to make him look at me like that? And the fact that one small conversation pitted Strauss to have these little things throughout their work together, sort of planted and investigated so he can try to take away Oppenheimer's like his security clearance. So I think also just means like he doesn't get a say anymore in what they do with the nuclear bomb sciences or testing or anything, and also he doesn't get to speak on behalf of the government to maybe clarify the dangers of the bombs. And that's interesting. There's something that Nolan played with in this movie that I don't think he often gets to play with. A lot of people kept saying, you gotta see this movie in IMAX, and I don't want to say you don't have to, because honestly, let me tell you, you don't have to see it in IMAX. You can just see it in a comfortable recliner chair, because I swear to goodness, me and my two friends, they're both named Alex, but one I call Copeland, they we all went at 9 p.m. to this effing 3 hour movie. Uh, and I love the IMAX. I love the IMAX theater in Little Rock on the AMC. I love that theater. I love the IMAX screen. I love that theater room. I love everything about it so much. Those seats suck. Those seats hurt your butt. They hurt your butt so much. And there was a point in Oppenheimer around the 2/3 point. And I didn't know it was 2/3. I was like, surely there's only 20 minutes left. No, there's an hour left. There's an hour left. Uh, that last hour, my butt was screaming, please end, end, end the movie, end. I was screaming internally. Robert Downey Jr. He's usually in the Avengers movies and Marvel movies. He's more like he's fast talking. He's like, oh hey how oh I'm over here. Oh hey don't touch that or whatever some stupid thing. In this movie, he's trying to get that Oscar. He's real toned down. And when I say toned down, he's speaking low and slow. He's like, you don't get to do this now. What did you say to Einstein? I think you're a crazy person. That's how he's talking through the whole movie. And it got to a point, anytime it got to another Robert Downey Jr. scene, I'm sitting there being like, please, for the love of God, please don't have a lot of dialogue. And of course, he has the whole effing page of dialogue he wants to stink and spout out. And I'm like, God dang it, please, please end. It's good. Look, and also it's good stuff. I wouldn't say it's not necessary because literally at the end of the movie, there's stuff in that last hour that really does hit you, and it. I don't want to say it scratches an existential itch, but kind of does. It's like it really makes you terrified at the thought, especially at the time when this was new technology and new science. Like, one of my favorite parts about the movie, towards the end of the movie, these are technically spoilers, but not really. So with the IMAX thing, so Nolan insists you watch it in IMAX, but a lot of his explosions in the movie, like the bigger, like the nuke you see, or those are like shot with, they're kind of like microscopically shooting stuff to make it look huge, to make it look like a giant. They're shooting really small explosions, and then they're blowing it up, and they're making new technology for the IMAX cameras to be able to do that because that's pretty difficult. My favorite parts were how he was like visualizing atoms and like different quantum theory elements and using micro photography to express that, and then blowing that up on IMAX. There's a big old kind of like a yin yang to the whole movie about how small things or big things have small beginnings. That phrase from Prometheus, but it's true though. It's like how small things lead to big things, and how big things come from small things. And the movie in IMAX, I think, does represent that to its best extent. Like, for one, with the micro explosions and the micro photography use, and then blowing that up into IMAX. That's one layer. Another layer of taking these dialogue scenes and putting those up in IMAX, because it's like, these are just dialogue scenes. Why we gotta see these in IMAX? It's not like seeing a bunch of explosions or yeah, but not really. Or like lasers and smoke and stuff, like all this stuff. And another layer, oh gosh, another layer of the atom, like just the technology of learning how to split an atom and using that for a bomb, using something literally less than microscopic, like beyond small, like the smallest form of matter, leading to the destruction of 200,000 people's lives. It's in an instant. So all of that that's the only reason I would say yes, you have to see it in IMAX, because those parallels I do think are blatant throughout the entire movie. The sizing of, the big things and the small things and how they collide and how they explode. It's so interesting and it's really cool, and it does it sparked an interest in quantum physics to me. I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos trying to understand some of it, and I don't. But I also just love the idea of, in the movie they show that like Oppenheimer and Einstein, they both hate math. They don't like math. They can only think of ideas. Well, I assume they can definitely do play in math. They just hate the process of having to do the math. But they're thinking so fourth dimensionally, like their ideas end up being right are proved right through math, but they can't do necessarily the math to prove it. They just know it to be true. That's interesting. The idea of and that's quantum physics, I think. It's just like, or that's where it begins. Conceptualizing that is impossible to conceptualize, and then using ways, finding out ways to not only conceptualize it, but prove it. That's cool, and I like it. I like science. I forgot that because I haven't had a science class in a long time. So yeah, I like it. I liked it. It was a good movie. Oppenheimer's a good movie. I mentioned my butt being numb. It was so numb. When I finally stood up, I felt like I couldn't walk. But it was our fault for seeing it at 9 p.m. and it's a full 3 hours. Literally, right before we went into the movie theater, we were like, do we want to do this? Do we want to commit to this? And I had already paid for the tickets. So we did. And I'm glad we did, even though when we left the movie, like Copeland, he said he had a headache, and I also had a headache. What I loved about it, though, like those IMAX seats, it felt like a roller coaster. When some bomb, like, especially when... Because you see the nuke go, when they do, we only get to see the bomb test in the movie. You do not get to see the actual bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which, good. But you see the flash, and then, not Ezra Miller, and we were all sort of waiting for the aftershock boom. And they had their ears covered. I didn't have my ears covered because I wanted the full extent of it, but I definitely was like bracing for it. And then you sort of kind of forget about it because it takes a second, and we all forgot about it. And then, like, our seats were shaking, vibrating. It was loud and it was long. It was like, it was literally like a Hans Zimmer, but like, it felt like you were inside of a bomb and you were blowing up. That was cool. Also, later in the movie, after the bomb's gone off and he has to give... It's weird. Like, he had to give kind of like a victory, quote-unquote victory speech after the bombs were dropped. And he didn't... And I just loved when he was giving the speech, he was walking in there, and all those Americans were just stomping their feet really loudly in the bleachers. And he's just imagining that stomping being a bunch of explosions blowing up. And then, like, as he's, like, giving the speech, he's imagining, all, like, he looks down at one lady and her skin's peeling. He's imagining them all being blown up. He's trying to get past the crowd, and he imagines stepping into an ashed up corpse. And he's just like, they're all cheering. Meanwhile, it could have easily been any of them, which is just crazy. And not only that, like, he's imagining the life that he is he felt responsible for taking, because, like, their spirit, and they're probably misplaced spirit and nationalism and all this. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's a big win for us for the war that is terrifying right now, but we also just killed a bunch of people in an instant. And that's terrifying. All right, final thoughts before the next commercial. When Einstein and Oppenheimer are having a conversation by the pond that Strauss can't get over, Oppenheimer is staring into the pond, and it's starting to rain. And you just see all the droplets hit the water, and you get to see, like, the waves leave each drop and then hit each other drop wave and drop wave and drop wave, and you're sort of just looking at that and think, and you can see on Cillian Murphy's face him looking and imagining these are all little nukes and this is the world. This could be the world we live in where everybody's dropping nukes and we just blow it all up. And then it flashes to him in like a fire jet, just looking at all the lights in the sky, zoom past the cockpit, and then you just slowly see the world start to blow up, and then I think it cuts to black. And that was like terrifying. And that's not really a spoiler. Like, it is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. I think you really do have to see it to really get into it. And it's a dense movie, but it is interesting. It is good. It's well acted by everybody. You should go see it. It's doing great. The fact that it's doing this good for a 3-hour movie is literally spectacular. I don't want to say Christopher Nolan's back, because every time a director comes back with a good one, they might come back with a weird one. But this was a personal project for him that he wanted to see through. So I don't know. Maybe his next thing is going to be good. This made me want to rewatch Tenet. Try to rewatch Tenet, but I don't know, man. That one's a hard one. But yeah, we'll see what happens next after this commercial. Nope, I got a whole minute. See, I try to get ahead of myself. But yeah, it was good.